out and braving the weather. Amazing turnout again. It's sort of a bit embarrassing watching the prosecutors in there trying to tell us that day was night and night was day, that Chelsea Manning's not a whistleblower and Julian's not a journalist. They really just brought absolute shame to that court and to the United Kingdom justice system. And this case remains a stain.
Now, the next speaker really is a pleasure to introduce. I met him a couple of years back when he was the first Australian MP to come across to Britain to visit Julian Assange in Belmarsh. We met with British parliamentarians at that time. But since that visit, he has been central to the transformation of Australian politics on the question of Julian Assange, campaigning relentlessly until there is not only cross-party support for Julian Assange, but the whole of the Australian Parliament saying what the world knows to be true, and that is enough in the case of Julian Assange. Please give a huge London welcome to Andrew Wilkie MP.
Who remembers collateral murder? Who can forget that grainy black and white image of an American attack helicopter gunning down innocent Iraqis and Reuters journalists? Who can remember that? And we have this madness that the man who told the truth, who provided hard evidence of US war crimes, he's the one in front of the court. It should have been the pilots of that helicopter. But some common sense has broken out. At least now the Australian Parliament has finally voted. The Australian Prime Minister has finally stood up and given a clear, strong signal to the Americans that enough is enough. Regardless of what you think of Julian, this matter must be brought to an end. The extradition must be dropped. The charges must be dropped. He must be busted out of Belmarsh. He must be allowed to be reunited with his family. Because Julian Assange is the hero here, not the villain.
How pathetic the US case is. They have to rely on lies. And then the prosecutors say, don't question these lies because that would offend our ally. 14 years on, all they can do is repeat the lies from the very first Pentagon press conference talking points sheet. What they're trying to argue is that state secrets trump revealing state crimes. This is the balance they're trying to shift. They want impunity, they don't want to be scrutinized, and journalism stands in the way. And in that courtroom, they're having to make their position increasingly clear. They have to admit that what they're doing is criminalizing journalism, is criminalizing the truth. They are liars, they are criminals, and they are persecuting the journalist who exposed them. Julian is a truth teller, he is a political prisoner. And the world is watching these courts and how they deal with this case. Please be here and come and march to Downing Street after the proceedings are over this afternoon. Thank you.
Free Julian Assange! And there is no better person to tell you about why that should be the case than Julian Assange's father, John Shipton.
Can't believe this still has a smile on his face.
Just a few
I mean,
things.
it's inspiring, you know.
Sorry?
Home
Just a
so,
few
you know.
things. Julian has spent in one form of incarceration and another, over 14 years. Julian has spent over 14 years in one form of incarceration or another. Are you good with that?
No!
All of Julian's human rights suspended. Are you good with that? Due process abuse after abuse.
Beh, non è mica fuori luogo,
You
c'è
good
da
with
condividere.
that?
Sono stati ammazzati 150 giornalisti per non
Over 25 court cases in one form or another for an innocent man. No charges laid. Are you good with that? I just want to thank you all for coming and thank you for your strength and understanding, as I do, that all genius ascends from the people, ascends from us upward. And it is us, in the manifestation of the Australian Parliament, declaring that Julian Assange must be brought home, has shown our courage manifested in the parliamentary declaration. Is that not magnificent? See you this afternoon for the march.
Will be pickets in an industrial dispute. Eventually, their case, after all the 40 years, was crushed and they were proven innocent. Although Brown was in prison, his harm, the assistant prison regime was repeatedly injected with electric cosh and suffered and died later of Parkinson's disease, partly induced by his treatment in prison. And the reason that's important is because it reminds us that the struggle for justice is long. But no matter how long and hard you fight, eventually you will win. As the Shrewsbury Pickets have their convictions strong, we are determined that it will not take that long for justice for Julian Assange. But we will still fight until there is justice for Julian Assange. Take the road line up here, behind the banners, behind the Sunderland, we're shouldering the further side of the earth around the board. We'll be ready to march. So take the road now, line up. Are you ready to march? Are you ready to march to free Julian Assange? Are you ready to march for a free press? Are you ready to march for freedom of speech? We're just getting the people onto the front banner now. There's going to be statements from a stage like this at Downing Street. We want to be as close to the MPs, as close to the Prime Minister as we can when they say, free Assange now, free Assange now.
One, two, three, four.
off Assange! US! UK! Hands off Assange! US! UK! We'll be free! We'll be free! Julian Assange! We'll be free! Julian Assange! We'll be free! Julian Assange! We'll be free! We'll be free! Julian Assange! We'll be free! Julian Assange! We'll be free! 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 Julian Assange! 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 Free! Free! Julian Assange!
Look at you! Look at all of you! Look at all of you! Wonderful. You know, I got to admit, I'm kind of sick and tired. I've been sitting all day listening to the CIA argue why, you know, Assange is a criminal and exposing war crimes is apparently a criminal offense. How boring and disgusting that they come into our courtrooms and tell us, you know, that they want to give Julian Assange a walloping. They want to prosecute him with US laws, but no protections under US laws. So you can try him with the Extradition Act or with the Espionage Act, but he gets no First Amendment protections. What kind of rubbish is that? What kind of rubbish is that? You need to understand something. A lot of you are holding Palestine flags, and I think you're very happy to see, because these two things are not disconnected. They are connected. The same people that are prosecuting Assange are the same people bombing Gaza. You need to understand that. These are the same corporations, the same banks, the same arms dealers that put Julian Assange in jail. They're the same people that killed 130 journalists in Gaza. This is a war on journalism. It's not just against Julian, it's against the people covering the case as well. They make it impossible to get in the courtroom. They make it impossible to hear what's going on. How the hell do they have £1 million per missile to shoot down Yemeni drones, but they can't fix the microphones in the bloody courtroom? What the hell is that? Are you serious, man? What is this? They really want us to believe they can't fund the NHS, they can't fix the transport, all this crumbling, but they got time to go make wars and kill people? Rubbish! Rubbish!
Rubbish!
Absolute rubbish. You need to understand something as well. This case, this is a violation of UK sovereignty. The Americans have no business coming here. The extradition treaty says you cannot take someone to the United States. That is what the law says. You cannot send someone to the United States for a political offense. You can't do it. And they're playing a double game here. They think that, you know, we're just going to okay this. No, you guys coming out here, this is an act of resistance. You being here, you raising your voice, you coming out with the drums, you know, chanting, that's an act of resistance. And when Julian Assange was being taken out of the embassy, he said, resist. He said, UK resist. So he asks that of you guys. Do you understand? You have to keep resisting. You have to make your voices heard. Because that's the one thing that they do not have. They don't have numbers. Yeah, they've got money, they've got bonds, they don't have numbers and power. Do you understand? They have no power in numbers. That belongs to all of you. So you have to keep coming out, you have to keep showing your support for Julian and keep showing your support for Palestine. Free, free Julian Assange! Free, free Julian Assange! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Thank you very much.
Ben Westwood. Vivian Westwood is a fantastic campaigner for this cause. Ben is a fantastic campaigner for this cause. Please give him a warm welcome.
Yeah, exactly. My name is Ben Westwood. Unfortunately, my mother Vivian is not here today. She was a close friend to Julian Assange and a long-term campaigner for a free press and against his extradition to the United States for the crime of revealing American war crimes, which included torturing prisoners of war and shooting unarmed civilians, not to mention revealing that the CIA could spy on you through TV and smartphones. Julian is a lovely man. I've met him. He's a human being, revealing the truth for us all. He is a real hero. Julian has been in Belmarsh maximum security prison for nearly 5 years now. And he got married to his partner Stella Assange there. But Julian wasn't allowed to be shown in his Vivian Westwood kilt, wedding kilt, because you could see his painfully thin legs brought about by his treatment, which UN Special Rapporteur Nils Mesler has described as torture. Unfortunately, this issue is not just about the injustice perpetrated to Julian. This is about our collective democratic right to real facts and truth. In a true democracy, the people need unrestricted access to facts and information in order to make informed choices. As Julian has said, the aim of war is not to win it, it's to have a never-ending war. War is a great way to launder the public's money into private hands and to maintain sources of cheap natural resources and cheap human labour for the profit god. Afghanistan and Iraq were great successes for them, but now it's Ukraine, Gaza, and the next project, China. Loads of money rolling in, not to mention for the Western contractors awarded the contracts to repair the damage caused. The fact that Julian is being charged with the crime of espionage is very telling. During times of war, public information can be restricted. Are we at war? The US has been conducting one war after another continuously since the end of the Second World War. Now they are trying to step into our country's war. If this appeal fails, America can disregard the laws of any other countries. Why is our government disregarding our own laws to suit America? What happened to Magna Carta? What happened to habeas corpus? Now I feel even more disgusted to be British. What are you doing to our country? A friend of my mother coined an acronym, a pill called NINSTOP, a pacifier used to control the world's populations. It stands for National Idolatry, Non-Stop Distraction, Organised Lying. The mainstream press is controlled and lies by omission and misinformation. They just don't do reports on something that is being hidden, as in Julian's case. When they do report, it has a bias. Now you hardly hear about the war in Ukraine. All the men there with no arms and legs for the rest of their lives. Gaza is just a background story now. All those people buried under the rubble. War journalism is strictly under control these days. No war photographers like Don McCullin allowed to take photos on the front line anymore. They learnt that in Vietnam. The case against Assange is the final end of the pretext that democracy exists. If he is convicted, it is the beginning of darkness for us all. The attack on Julian Assange is also an attack on us. Next time this could be you.
And she wants to be with you here tonight, Stella Assange.
Wow, you guys are amazing. Not just the turnout this evening coming here to Downing Street, but also over the past 48 hours. It's been incredible. Every time I got to court, I was greeted by this incredible, supportive crowd that was cheering us on, and I told Julian all about how much support he has, and also how much attention the media has given this case this time around. The world is watching. And finally, there's a realization about what this is really about, which is an attack on the truth, an attack on the public's right to know, and a country's attempt to further their impunity and their cover-ups and continue to kill with impunity without the threat of a media that will scrutinize them, of a public that will demand change. That cannot stand. Everything turns on the outcome of this case. Whether states can criminalize journalism and put journalists in prison like they've been doing in the UK with an Australian citizen, a publisher who's won many, many awards for his journalism, and they've stuck him in the deepest, darkest hole of the UK prison system and threatened and the U.S. threatens to put him in the deepest, darkest hole of the U.S. prison system for 175 years. Julian's imprisonment is a result of people with too much power who lost the plot, who got power thirsty and are guilty. They know they're guilty and they want to continue to live their lives without any consequences for the crimes they've committed. This case is about whether state crimes can continue unpunished, unscrutinized. Julian's freedom is the only antidote. We don't have a decision today. Julian's life is at severe risk every single day he is in prison. He is a political prisoner. He is the world's most famous political prisoner. We know what happened to the other most famous political prisoner last week. That cannot happen to Julian. It cannot be allowed to happen. The world is watching. Julian has to be freed. But we can know that we will be there for Julian, and be there for our own democracy, our own future, our own ability to change policy, to change decisions, to change governments. Because if there's no scrutiny, we can't be informed. We can't be able to change, make an informed decision about who we elect. Our rights are at stake, but Julian's life is at stake. If he is extradited, he will lose his life. He will be killed. He will be killed by the country that has been plotting his assassination. And the court heard how the United States, under the previous administration, which may be the next administration, had plotted to assassinate him, who had plotted to poison him, who had plotted to kidnap him, who had plotted to rendition him. Shame! Shame on those who put journalists in prison. Shame on those who murder journalists. Shame on those who are afraid of the truth. That's not a society I want to live in. We're better than that. The UK courts are also under scrutiny. They have heard about the murder plots against my husband. They are on notice that the country that is trying to extradite him has planned to murder him. They don't deny it. They just change the subject. The whole time we were in court, the other side somehow avoided to talk about what the documents Julian published revealed. They didn't talk about the war crimes. They didn't talk about the 15,000 civilian killings in Iraq that were revealed. They didn't talk about their torture and rendition program. They didn't talk about Guantanamo Bay. They simply changed the subject. Shame. This case is brought by criminals who want to maintain their impunity, who want to avoid the courts. They are the fugitives from justice, not Julian. Julian is justice. He is transparency. He is the public. As long as Julian remains in prison, we are all in prison. And they are free. It cannot be. Free Assange! Free Assange! Be there for Julian. He would be there for you. He is there for you. He needs to be free.
Because they can no longer ignore us. They can no longer scorn us. And we heard in a UK court, we heard Julian's defence outline the war crimes of the United States. We heard lawyers, eminent KCs speak to the bench and talk of massacre.